This I am has but one mode of expression, and that is through ideal, thought, word, and act. This I am God being, which is power, substance, intelligence, is given form by consciousness, and for this reason the Master said, according to your faith be it unto you, and all things are possible to them that believe. Now we see that God is within the soul as power, substance, and intelligence, or in spiritual terms, wisdom, love, and truth, and is brought out into form or expression through consciousness. The consciousness which is the infinite mind of God, and in man is determined by the concept or belief that is held in mind. It is the belief in separation from spirit that has caused our forms to age and die. When we see that spirit is all, and that form is constantly being expressed from spirit, then shall we understand that that which is born of or brought about out of spirit is spirit. The next great truth to be revealed through the consciousness is that each individual, being a concept of the divine mind, is held in that mind as a perfect ideal. Not one of us has to conceive himself. We have been perfectly conceived and already are always held in the perfect mind of God as perfect beings. By having this realization brought to our consciousness, we can contact the divine mind and so reconceive what God has conceived for us. This is what Jesus called being born again. It is the great gift the silence has to offer us. For by contacting the God mind, we can think with God mind and know ourselves as we are in reality, rather than as we have thought ourselves to be. We contact God mind through true thought, and so bring forth a true expression, whereas in the past, perhaps through untrue thought, we have brought forth an untrue expression. But whether the form be perfect or imperfect, the being of the form is perfect God power, substance, and intelligence. It is not the being of the form that we wish to change, but the form that being has assumed. This is to be done through the renewing of the mind, or through the change from the imperfect to the perfect concept, from the thought of man to the thought of God. How important then to find God, to contact him, to be one with him, and to bring him forth into expression. How equally important is the silence or the stilling of the personal mind, that the God mind in all its splendor may illumine the consciousness. When it does, then we shall understand how the Son of Righteousness, righteousness, shall rise with healing in his wings. The mind of God floods consciousness as sunshine floods a darkened room. The infusion of the universal mind into the personal mind is like the entrance of the vastness of the outside air into the impurity of that which has long been held in some closed compartment. It stands alone, supreme, and we realize that we are to build but one temple. The temple of the living God is the blending of the greater with the lesser, through which the lesser becomes one with the greater. The impurity was caused by the separation of the lesser from the greater. The purity is caused by their union, so that no longer is there a greater and a lesser, but just the one good, whole, pure air. Even so much we know that God is one, and all things visible and invisible are one with him. It is separation from him that has caused sin, sickness, poverty, and death. It is union with him that causes one to become a whole being, or to become conscious of being whole. The separation from unity is the descent of the angels on the ladder of consciousness. The return to unity is the ascent of the angels upon the ladder. The descent is good, for unity then becomes expressed in diversity. But in diversity, there need be no concept of separation. That which is diversity has been misconceived from the personal or external viewpoint to be separation. The great work for each soul is to lift the personal viewpoint to such heights in consciousness that it becomes one with the whole. When all can meet with one accord in one place, that place of consciousness where it is understood that all things visible and invisible have their origin in the one God, then we stand upon the Mount of Transfiguration. At first we see Jesus, and with him Moses and Elijah, our law and prophecy, and the Christ, the power within man to know God. And we think to build 3 temples. But the deeper meaning comes. We are given to realize the immortality of man and to know that divinity is never lost. The divine man is deathless, eternal. Then Moses, the law, and Elijah, the prophecy, disappear, and the Christ stands alone, supreme, and we realize that we have to build but one temple, the temple of the living God, within our very selves. Then the Holy Spirit fills the consciousness, and the sense delusion of sin, sickness, poverty, and death become no more. That is the great purpose of the silence. This temple, from which you may chip a piece and the scar will be instantly healed, but typifies the temple of our body, of which Jesus spoke. The temple not made by hands, eternal in the heavens, which we are to bring forth here on earth.